Just like the stock market right now, one of our win rates is getting torched tonight. Stay tuned to figure out whose that is.
Another reminder that our first TCH Dallas meetup game is May 22nd. Here are the details. It's a 1-2 500 cap. Going to be so much fun. Make sure to come out.
As some of you might have noticed, we just hit 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. This has been an incredible ride. Thank you so much. And to celebrate this, we are opening free shipping on all orders on NextGenPokerShop.com for the next week, Sunday to Sunday. So head over to NextGenPokerShop.com, check out some merch. Thank you guys so much. Back to the video.
Let's get this vlog started with the hand that's really good but causes a lot of headaches. We have ace king offsuit under the gun. I call 5 under the gun +1 raises to 20. He's a manager here at Texas Card House, and we all know the staff likes to gamble. The big blind calls to 20, but he's in for a rude awakening. I raise it up to $125. Under the gun quickly makes the call, and the big blind player comes along for the party. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes 6-6-4 with 2 hearts. We miss, but might still have the best hand. I don't want to give the other players a chance to realize their equity, so I keep betting and make it $100 this time. Both players make the quick fold, and we make 250 bucks just like that. Headache avoided for now.
First hand of the session. I have not opened a single hand in the 3 to 4 orbits I've been here. I've been so card dead. We look down at pocket 3s in the hijack, under the gun +2 limps, the low jack limps, and we're raising it up. We could over limp and try to set mine here, but I'm going to use my image to try to put the pressure on in position and win this pot. I make it $50. And it doesn't seem that anyone's been paying attention that I just have never played a hand today. The big blind cold 3 bets to 200, under the gun +2, limp jams to 450. I fold, the big blind calls, and they get it all in, and it's on to the next one. For those curious, the 2 hands all in were ace king of diamonds for the big blind and pocket 9s for the limp jammer. 9s held.
Coming off of the biggest win in 2-5 of my entire life, a $6,000 win. Go check out that vlog if you haven't. Hoping to run it up again, and no better way to do so than picking up pocket aces the first rotation. There is an early position limp and a raise to 25. I'm in the cutoff and decide to go for a 3 bet to $100. Folds back around to the limper, who surprisingly makes a call for 100. And now the initial raiser ponders for a bit before deciding to grab a stack of blacks, stick them in there, $500 of 4 bet. I'm loving life, and I've only got 520 in my stack. I wait for just a minute before going all in. The initial limper folds, and we're off to a $1,000 pot, all in pre-flop with the best hand possible.
I cannot tell you.
Ace high flop, not bad. I just go ahead and table my hand right away, let the guy know I flopped the nuts. The turn is an 8 and the river is another 8. He shows to the camera that he had the pocket jellos, and we scoop in a pot, doubling up. First rotation, you love to see it.
I move seats, so I'm on the action player's left and look down at 2 red 9s. Under the gun 1 calls 5, folds to mean I raise to 35. Small blind calls, and so does the limper. Flop comes jack 7-4 with 2 spades, and the small blind player leads out for $55. U1 folds. I don't like this spot because it's hard to know what the small blind player is leading out with since I've never played them before, but I think I should make the call, and that's what I do. Going to evaluate a turn, which comes the ace of spades, and now the small blind player checks it over to me. I'm 90% sure that he has a jack, and I decide I wanted to turn my 9s into a bluff because I don't think he has a flush or an ace after checking the turn. I bet 175 into 210, and small blind thinks for a second or two before making the call. The river comes the 5 of hearts, and he checks to me again. I didn't think one barrel would get him off a jack, so I gear back and unload the clip. I go $400, and now we have the small blind player in the tank. I'm thinking I wish I went a little bit bigger. The small blind player makes the call and shows us the good old jack 3 offsuit with the jack of spades. Gotta love Texas poker. I lick my wounds and get ready for the next battle.
This hand, we've got pocket 10s in the small blind. There's an under the gun straddle to 10. Under the gun +2 raises to 35. The low jack calls and the hijack calls, and it's on us. We're out of position. We've got a great hand. That adds up to a 3 bet. We bump it up to $200 here, making a big sizing out of position. And under the gun +2 rips it all in for $800 effective. It folds back to us. And this is just a 6 spot. He has a very strong range here, raising over straddle from early position. coming in for this all in. I think at best we're flipping with ace king, and he's got all the other overpairs. So I kiss my $200 goodbye and move on to the next one.
There's a $5 straddle and an under the gun one open to 20. This guy was pretty loose, so I decided to 3-bet him in position here in under the gun 2 to $60. Folds back around all the way to the big blind, who makes the call for $60. And then the straddle also calls $60. Now the initial raiser getting a great price, sticks in that extra $40, and we're 4 ways in a massive pot already, going to a board of 6-6 deuce with 2 clubs. We completely miss and it checks to me. This board's pretty dry. I could stab here a good portion of the time. This time I decided to check this one back. A lot of these players are going to have low to medium pocket pairs in their range. They could also have a hand like 5-6 or 6-7 suited. And I just decided to take a free turn card, and it is a great one, the 10 of spades. There's 2 flush draws out there now. It checks over to the initial straddler, who tossed out $75. There's 1 fold, I make the call for $75, and the big blind folds as well, so we're heads up to a river, and it's an offsuit 9. Great card, 7-8 suited gets there, but not much else, and he bets out $100. I snap call here. I don't think there's any reason to go for a raise. He announces ace high, lovely to hear that. I flip over my hand, and we're scooping in yet another pot our way. This session's going great already, let's keep running it up.
A few rotations later, the Cowboys joined the battleground. I raised to $30 and +2. Our villain, who had Jack 3, makes the call and the cutoff, as does the main boss of our vlog, who goes by Prosper Donkey in the small blind. 3 ways to a flop, which comes 10-8-2. Checks to me, I bet $50, cutoff folds, and Prosper makes the call. The turn is the 6 of spades. Now he leads into me for $65, and I make the smooth call. The turn is the 8 of diamonds, which upgrades us to 2 pair. Prosper now checks it over to us, and we have some value to get here. I bet $160. Prosper makes the call and shows the vlog a 10. Love taking a hand from him. Let's go.
All right, we're 0 for 2 to start our session. Hopefully we can turn it around with ace queen offsuit on the button here. If you're a fan of our Jonathan Little poker coaching tip of the vlog segment, pay attention to this one. There's 3 limps. I opened it up to $40, and 2 of the limpers call. 3 ways to a flop in position of queen 4-4 rainbow. Checks to me. Super dry board here. I don't want people folding, so I c-bet small to the tune of $35. I think I could size up still, but I do like the idea of going smaller, and only the first limper calls. Off to the turn, 200 in the middle. Ace of hearts brings in a backdoor flush draw, gives us top 2. He checks. Let's keep it up. I bet $100, and he check raises to $300. Now, this is a player that was on the looser side, not necessarily maniacal, but he definitely could have a random 4 here, but we're not folding top 2 just yet. There's some draws here. I make the call. Off to the river with about $800 at stake, and it is the king of spades. And he rips it all in for $500, a little bit more than half pot, and we go into the tank. I don't realistically think he can have anything that we want him to have. I think it's screaming a 4. I end up tank folding. Jonathan Little, what would you do here on the river? I will say, the villain shows the king of clubs after I folded. And I definitely think he could have king 4 given his player type. Maybe like a king 4 of clubs. Nevertheless, Jonathan, please help.
On the river king, your opponent shoves. The king doesn't change much because while Jack 10 of hearts gets there, not much else does. So really the question is, do they have a 4 or do they not? I kind of thought they had a 4 and they check raised you on the turn, but now that they jammed the river, I think it's even more likely. So I would find a fold. At this point, the only bluffs that make sense are busted heart draws, and your opponent may not even have those because a lot of people just fold stuff like 8-7 of hearts on the flop. So when it's difficult to find bluffs, and your hand looks like it's clearly pretty strong, I usually err towards folding. Feels bad, though.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that incredible insight. This hand we face a $25 open from the same guy who I doubled up through with pocket aces and 3-bet with ace 10. And we look down at the Jellos. We're going to be throwing in yet another 3-bet against him. I make it $100, folds back around to him, and he makes a call. Flop comes queen high, pretty dry. He checks. I bet $70, just a casual c-bet here, and he folds. We're scooping in another pot our way. Ever since I coined the name, the Jellos have been treating me nice.
We look down at King Queen offsuit on the button. Those two early position limps before under the gun 2 makes it $35. Cutoff calls. I could and maybe should 3-bet this hand, but I decide to just make the call, and both early position limpers call as well. 5 ways to a flop that comes King 2-5 rainbow. The initial aggressor checks and the cutoff bets $60. He shouldn't have ace king here, kings or 2-pair, so we'll only lose to sets. I put in a raise to $175 and it folds back to the cutoff player who makes the call. The turn comes the 5 of hearts pairing the board and the cutoff leads into us for 200, which should mean a lot of strength, but we have a strong hand ourselves. I call 200 and the final card comes the 10 of hearts. Cutoff checks, King 10 got there, and I don't want to open the action back up, so I check it back.
I missed everything.
Love to hear that. I show and we're scooping in a $1,000 pot.
This hand, we have ace-king offsuit in the big blind. Come on, let's turn it around, guys. We got it. Under the gun +1 opens to 20, and the small blind calls. We got a great hand. We're raising it up. I make it $125, but both of them call. You know Texas poker. We're off to a flop 3 ways, which comes 7-4 deuce rainbow, our lovely flop for ace-king. Not an ace or a king in sight, but our range has all the overpairs. I c-bet $125, and only under the gun +1 makes the call. He does call though, so we haven't won yet. The turn with about 625 in it is the queen of spades. It brings on a flush draw. We've got about 500 left in our stack, guys. We've got a tight image at the table. This queen is gonna scare off all of his middling pocket pairs from jacks down, and we have aces and kings in our range too. This was a tighter player. I think if we're ever gonna use our image to rip it in here, now is the time to do it. So what do you say? I go all in for $500 and he folds almost instantly. Let's go.
We are in the hijack this hand and look down at ace king offsuit. There's a new player at the table and he's in the low jack and opens at $25. Welcome to the table, buddy. Here comes a 3-bet. I make it $100, another black chip 3-bet. Let's go. Folds back around to him and he makes a call for 75 more. And the flop comes 4, 5, 6 with 2 hearts. We do have the ace of hearts, and when he checks to me, I decide to check this one back. Ace king is still pretty strong on this board. However, getting check raised here would be an absolute disaster. And the turn is an offsuit deuce. Doesn't change much. He checks to me, and I'm just gonna check this one back again, take a free river card, and it's an offsuit 10. Maybe he just binked on me, maybe he didn't, but he checks it over to me, and at this point, ace king might be good here. I check it back, he shows ace queen offsuit, and we're gonna take in yet another pot. Nothing too exciting for me, but we're still racking up a nice solid profit.
In the big blind with 5-4 of diamonds, Prosper opens in low jack to 15, hijack calls, I'm getting a great price, I call, and we go 3 ways to a flop, which comes jack 8-7 with 2 diamonds. I check to Prosper, who bets $25, and the hijack player makes the call. Back to me, getting another great price to hit our flush, or straight flush. I should call and assess the turn, but I choose to attack the donkey, and instead I raise to $150 as a bluff. Prosper snap folds, but the hijack isn't done with his hand yet. He makes the call. He could have a jack, a straight, or a better flush draw than us, which is kind of terrifying. The turn comes a mega dud, the 2 of hearts. If he has a better flush draw, I want to try to price him out, so I bet $350 into $370. Again, he makes the call, and he only has $500 left. We need to hit here because we have no fold equity on the river, so everyone please smash that like button, which will activate a vortex to make that river a diamond. Here it comes, bang, 4 of hearts. Damn it, who didn't hit that like button? Oh well, do it now if you haven't. I check, hijack checks, and flips over 8-7 for 2 pair. On to the next one.
To quote the great Hannah Montana, ladies and gentlemen, everybody makes mistakes, everybody has those days. Nobody's perfect. So this hand, you're going to see that from me. Pocket 9's in the cutoff. Under the gun +2 raises to 40. This is the same guy from my ace-queen fold that Jonathan Little took a look at. It's a looser player. It's a big open. We make the call. And the button, who's a relatively passive player, calls as well. 3 ways to the flop, which comes 7-4 deuce rainbow. We've got an overpair. And under the gun +2, c-bets for 25. Like a 1/6 pot c-bet. And I don't want to just call that. He might be just trying to set his price with 2 overcards. He is a little more of a weirder player, I guess you could say. So I want to put in a raise here. And I want to raise to $100. So I do what one does when they want to raise to $100 and put a $100 chip across the betting line. But in the poker world, we have just enacted the 1 chip rule. where if you toss a chip in, it's the same as a call when facing a bet. So that $100 is just not worth $100, and the dealer lets me know that. I'm a little embarrassed, but we have to keep playing. We make it 25, and the button calls. Off to a turn with 200 in the middle, which is the 8 of hearts. The second heart on board, and we still have an overpair. Under the gun +2 now slows down and checks. I'm thinking he probably does have overcards, and now it's time to actually charge these guys. I make it 100, but the button calls. And for the second time today, I'm check raised from under the gun +2 from $100 to $300. Literally, it feels like it's deja vu, though this time I'm more willing to let this hand go, which I do. And the button, however, rips it all in. Under the gun +2 calls, and check out their hands. 5-6 of clubs for the button for the stone cold nutter butters, and pocket 7s for under the gun +2 for middle set. So we escaped this one here in just a weird hand. I apologize for my sloppy play.
This one's pretty interesting. We got pocket 7s in the small blind. There's an under the gun open to 15 and 2 calls. Comes back around to me. I decide to just call in the small blind. The flop comes 8-3-3, actually a great board for 7s. I consider just leading out on this board because I can likely have the best hand, but check it over in flow. The initial aggressor checks as well, and it checks all the way around. Turn is the 6 of spades. It brings in a spade flush draw, and I decide to go for some value here by betting $25. I can get called by weaker pairs as well as any sort of draw that opponents might have, and can deny quite a bit of equity as well. I bet 25. The initial aggressor now grabs a stack of greens and raises me to 75. Really weird, and it folds back around to me. Opening under the gun, I'm not sure what strong hands he's going to have on this board besides overpairs, and I don't really know if he's checking the flop all that often with those. I'm a little cautious, but I'm also quite curious. I don't really believe him here, so I call for 50 more, and we're off to a river, which is another 6. I have to act first here, and if I check and face a big bet on this river card, I'm going to be put in quite a spot, so I do something a little sneaky here and go into the tank on this river. I purposely think for about 30 seconds to a minute before deciding to check it over to him, hoping to make it look like I just rivered a monster hand, and he snap checks it back and flips over a 3. I'm in shock. What kind of hand did he have with the 3 in it? Maybe ace 3? But no, he also shows a 5-3 suited. He got a little loose under the gun and it paid off by flopping trips. Glad that we ended up losing the minimum, and hopefully it was due to my Hollywood. If a career in poker doesn't work out, maybe there's an acting job waiting around the corner.
We have queen jack of spades and we're playing 2-5-10. I call $10 under the gun. 2 makes it 35. Low jack calls, straddle calls, and I call. So 4 ways to a flop, which comes king 4-7 with 2 spades. I think a lead here actually would be really cool. I do that with sets for value, then I have the flush draws like this to be my bluffs. But I check this time. The initial aggressor checks and the low jack player bets 50. The low jack should be 3-betting his best king X pre-flop, so I decide to raise it as a bluff, which is starting to become the theme of this episode for me. The check raise builds the pot if a spade does come on the turn and should get his non-king X hands to fold. Everyone folds except the low jack player. He makes the call. The turn comes the 9 of clubs, giving us a straight draw with our flush draw, and stack sizes are starting to get a little bit awkward. I put out a bet of $300 this time, hoping to fold out hands like king 8, king 9, or king 10, but again the low jack player makes the call. We need a 10 or a spade on this river, but instead we get the 8 of clubs. We have well over a $1,000 pot brewing and less than $500 behind. I give up and check, and the low jack now rips it all in for my last 600. I make the fold, wishing I would have just called the 50 on the flop right about now. Interestingly enough, he told me that he had pocket 8s, so a couple loose calls from him on the flop and turn, and unfortunately we lose another one.
All right, we're down about $500 on the night. We need to turn it around. Ace king of spades is the perfect hand to do it with. We're in the hijack. Under the gun straddles to 10. We're 1,000 effective here. I make it 50. The button calls and the straddler calls. This is the same button who we bluffed all in with our ace king last time we had it. Off to a flop, 3 ways, which comes queen 10-3, 2 spades and a club. We flop the nut flush draw, gutter to the nut straight, 2 overcards, fun stuff going on here. Checks to me, I see bet 125. The button calls, straddler folds. Now the turn. It's pretty chill. The deuce of spades giving us these stone cold nuts. Let's keep betting. I make it 225 and he calls again. This is perfect. We bluffed and he folded and now we have it and he's calling. The river is the 8 of hearts. It's an absolute brick. And this is where something comes into play. He had just been approached by his friend, who I guess had played with me before, and his friend had tried to whisper in his ear not to play in pots with me because I have a tight reputation and I don't play many hands. This literally just happened. And so now we find ourselves on the river, 860 or so in the pot, about 600 left in our stack. Normally it's a pretty good size to just rip it all in here, go for max value, but I think he has the potential to hero fold sets and 2 pairs to me, given what he was just told. For that reason, I decide to size down a little bit. I make it 350, something I wouldn't normally do, but I want to get some value with my flush. Sure enough, he makes the call, and we win. We have the nuts, a over $1,500 pot coming our way. Let's go.
There's a cutoff limp. I look down at King Jack offsuit on the button and bump it up to $30. I have a very aggressive player in Woodley who saw bluff me off pocket 10s in the last vlog. Woodley puts out a bet of $500. Decide to make the fold here, and Woodley, as a part and fan of the vlog, he shows us 8-6 of diamonds for a bluff. He 3-bets me in the small blind to $80. We have position and are up against an aggressive player, so I make the call. Could even 4-bet here every once in a while as a bluff. Heads up to a flop, which comes King 3-4 rainbow. We're loving the flop, and Woodley bets $75 into us. No need to raise. We want to keep all his bluffs in there. I make the call. The turn comes the 7 of clubs, and Woodley checks it over to us. I'm happy to check this one back just in case he has ace king, and we also allow him to keep bluffing on the river. The river comes the jack of clubs, so now we beat pocket aces, ace king, and king queen, which is amazing. Woodley bets $225 into a $320 pot. We want to squeak out a little bit more value from the hands that I just mentioned, so I raised it up to $550. We love to see a call and win a huge pot, but Woodley doesn't call. He jams all in for 800 more. Everyone pause the video and comment down below, what would you do? Remember, we have the king of clubs, which blocks ace king and king queen of clubs for the flush. I told myself I was going to raise for value and then fold if he jammed, but while I was in the tank, I started to lean towards a call. I started thinking that he could be bluffing me with the ace of clubs blocker, and then I got the clock called on me. I just hate that. My heart is racing. I keep going back and forth in my head as the floor slowly starts coming over. So I just toss a white chip in there, signaling a call. Woodley flips over, ace 10 of clubs for the nut flush, and we lose a 2K pot. This one hurts.
Into the game for $1,500, out for $1,815. We clawed back, we got the dub, let's go. First time I've ever entered and left the card house when it was light out both times. Does that make me more of a degen or less of a degen? You let me know.
Wrapped it up. It was a quick one for me today. In for 600, out for 1511. Not a bad day.
Wanted to follow up Jello's big win with a big win myself, so I came a little early to play a long session and ended up being the biggest loss of my life. In for 3,300, out for 420, so lost a good chunk, my biggest loss ever. This sucks, ran like shit, and poker's tough game, especially when you are making some debatable river calls. So this is going to be a learning experience. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That will help me, my feelings, because I like seeing the subscribers and likes.